Hey, this is Health Call Online, the place for extended versions of interviews you hear in our weekly radio broadcast, the Health Call Radio Hour, now offered to stations across the country in national syndication. So we all know that healthcare, it can be a big headache for Americans, and the cost of medications is a big part of that problem. Well, where there's pain, there is often profit. Billionaire Mark Cuban is trying to do something about that, and he may find some profit this year with his new online pharmacy, Cost Plus Drugs. We're going to learn more about that and its disruptive role in healthcare, talking today to Jared Dashevsky. He is a fourth-year medical student on his way to a career as a gastroenterologist. He's the son of a physician, so a deep background in healthcare, and he's also the creator of a newsletter called the Healthcare Huddle. It is sent to people all across the country, those who are medical students trying to stay up on things in the healthcare industry, and others as well. So, Jared, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Lee.
You bet. So last year, you wrote a piece that kind of took a look at cost plus drugs and its impact on the market. Now, taking a look ahead into 2023, you're out with another forecast. Why does it matter? Why should consumers care whether this thing is a success?
Well, because the whole premise of cost plus drugs is it's disrupting the traditional drug supply chain so that consumers, patients, can get their medications, their generic drugs, at a price that's significantly cheaper than the generic drugs they're buying elsewhere. And when I say significantly cheaper, I mean hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year saved by using Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs pharmacy. So it's very important.
What's the difference? How does Cost Plus work, and is it proving to work as well as promised?
Yeah, of course. So I think in order to discuss what is cost plus drugs, it's important to take a look at why are drug prices so high and what are the key causes that Mark Cuban's addressing. So just real quick, lack of competition among generic drug manufacturers allows prices to be high, right? Low competition means prices can be priced at whatever they can handle. There's a lack of transparency in the drug supply chain, meaning us consumers and patients, we truly have no idea the amount of money being passed around between all the stakeholders in the drug supply chain. And then third, there's no negotiations that go on between insurers and drug manufacturers, right? So big insurers like CMS, they can't negotiate. This year they will be able to, but before they couldn't negotiate drug prices to keep them down.
Mm-hmm. So wait a minute, there's a
there?
middleman involved here. There's this whole PBM, pharmacy benefit managers. Describe how all of that works, and consumers have no clue about any of that, do they?
Right, no, they zero idea. I mean, even I'm in healthcare, and it's still so hard to understand. So I'm going to describe it as best as I can, and if listeners are confused, that's the point. It is a very confusing drug supply chain, but it'll help you understand what Mark Cuban's doing. So I'll describe the drug supply chain in the way drugs are moving throughout it. So you have the drug manufacturer who is giving drugs to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler is giving drugs to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy gives drugs to the consumer or the patient, right? So we're at the end. And the way money flows is that the patient or consumer is giving money to the pharmacy for their drugs, like a copay. The consumer or patient is also giving money to the health plan. And then the pharmacy, buys drugs from the wholesaler buys drugs from the drug manufacturer. But here's where things get very shady. And I don't use that term lightly. It's very shady. The drug manufacturer, they're creating the drugs. So they want their drugs covered by health plans, else they're not going to get any revenue. So they pay these third-party pharmacy benefit managers what's known as a rebate. So it's a percentage of the list price of the drug that's paid to the third-party pharmacy benefit manager as a signal to, hey, can you get our drug covered by health plans? And so the third-party pharmacy benefit manager basically is in control of health plans' formularies or what drugs they're going to cover. And these third-party PBMs will also pay part of the rebate they get from the drug manufacturer to the health plan. We don't really know how much these rebates are, but we know there are a lot.
So wait a minute.
And
so the drug manufacturer is paying this PBM to get the insurance companies to list their drug and make it available to the patients. So there's money flowing that way. And then there's also money flowing back to the manufacturers or back to the insurance companies. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm confused.
it's very confusing. But here's the catch. Here's why things get very expensive. Because the rebate is a percentage of the list price of the drug,
Mm-hmm.
if you're any wise business person, you would want to get the most expensive drugs on your formulary because you get a larger chunk of the percentage of that rebate. So the whole theory is that these rebates theoretically can lower the cost of premiums because these rebates are passing all the way back to the health plan who can use that extra money to lower premiums. But third-party PBMs may want the biggest chunk of that list price. So they may go after the most expensive drugs, and drug manufacturers may jack up the prices to get their drugs on these formularies. It's very opaque, and if you don't understand this, that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, because most consumers, all they know is what their copay is. They have no idea about the real
Exactly.
price of the drug, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Mark Cuban comes along, and I heard him say it took him 4 years to go through all the state licensure and everything necessary just to get this thing off the ground. And now it's been up and running for a year. Patients are saving thousands of dollars, you say. Do you have any examples you can share with that?
So if you go to any of their websites, if you go to Cost Plus Drugs website, I think the other day I was looking at a biologic called like imatinib,
Okay.
and the list price of the drug is like $2,000. So that's the that's the price without any negotiations, without any rebates. That's the price that you would have to like buy without insurance. Cost Plus Drugs got that price down. I really think to like under $100 for
Well,
like a
they're listing it
60-day
here.
supply.
Yeah, they're listing it here on imatinib on the homepage. It's listed at $14.40.
Exactly, it's really insane. And to talk about how he's doing it, it took him a long time. But Mark Cuban, recognizing that drug prices are way too high in the United States, way too high, and he basically said, "Hold my coffee. I'm going to figure this out."
Hmm.
And what Cost Plus Drugs does is it takes this complex supply chain where there's like shady money and negotiations moving about that us consumers don't know, and he just puts it all under one roof. So the drug manufacturer, the wholesaler, the pharmacy, the PBM, it's all under Cost Plus Drugs, and because it's all under one roof, he's able to be transparent about how he prices the drugs, and he's able to price the drugs at a cheap price. And he's transparent about it. It's like a manufacturing fee, a 15% markup, the Cost Plus, a $5 pharmacy fee, and or $5 shipping fee, and a $3 pharmacy fee. That's it. You know what you're paying for.
And I just looked at the list. There's over, I think, 1,000 drugs now
Yep.
available on that list, right? So they have to be generics.
They
And
have to be generics.
right, okay. So that's pretty disruptive for the entire
For
industry.
sure.
So let's talk a little bit about what that means to all the competitors in a moment. But first, I want to get here. So if you're going to offer a product at a deep discount, something's got to give somewhere. Are there issues around? I understand you can only communicate with them online. You have to have an email address. There's no customer service 1-800 number to call, that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Uh, I believe that's correct. And, they're very new, and they're taking a very simplified approach to marketing and to building this pharmacy. I don't think they've used any paid marketing to inform physicians, to inform consumers of how great this pharmacy is. So everything's been word of mouth. But I believe like they're building out like more infrastructure uh, to be more compatible with like the customer service end. And then something I didn't mention, but Cost Plus Drugs doesn't, for the most part, for 99% of cases, does not accept insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So consumers are paying out of pocket, but the thought is the cost of these generic drugs are significantly cheaper than what you would pay if you were using insurance. That's like the mind blowing part of this.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing. So let's talk a little bit about the disruptive influence here. What's happening out there with Walmart, Kmart, CVS, Walgreens, all the big major drug distributors in America? How is this affecting them?
Yeah, so I think Walmart was probably one of the first retail companies to basically say, hey, we're going to offer generic drugs. And they created a generic drug program. It's been extremely successful and it still is successful. Um, Walmart has the benefit that they're in rural areas. Uh, they're well known throughout America. They're one of the largest corporations in America. So they have the reach to really get their generic drug program in front of customers. Um, so I don't think uh, Walmart is going to be as affected um, by cost plus drugs, but for other pharmacies and drug manufacturers must be looking at cost plus drugs and thinking, oh my God, he's going to steal customers from us or steal our population. We need to do something about it. And I haven't heard anything yet about like CVS Health, United Healthcare, because United Healthcare owns OptumRx, which is a pharmacy benefit manager. I haven't heard anything from them about how cost plus drugs is going to affect them and how they should react. And there's a reason. The reason is CVS Health, United Healthcare, and Cigna own 85% of the pharmacy benefit manager market, right? So because they're so big, that they may be shielded from the effects of cost plus drugs, but the smaller PBMs and the smaller pharmacies for sure will be affected. I don't have exact data, but you can imagine that if you have cost plus drugs selling drugs like 100% cheaper, like why wouldn't a consumer go there where they could save hundreds of dollars a year?
Well, right now, they're just getting off the ground. Cost plus drugs. They've not really done any marketing. I understand it's mostly kind of word of
Exactly.
mouth. That may change. How is this different from the other company people may have heard of, and that's Good RX?
So the key difference, at least from what I've read and what I understand, is that cost plus drugs is getting to the problem, right? They are addressing the root causes of high drug prices, which is this opaque, complex drug supply chain. GoodRx is innovative and disruptive in the fact that it's a coupon, right? So if your doctor prescribes you a medication, um, you basically show up to CVS if that's your pharmacy with GoodRx coupon. They scan it, and then you have your medication at a cheaper price. But it's kind of like a band-aid solution, right? Versus cost plus drugs, which is really getting to the root cause and building from like the bottom up.
So, is there any concern among your professors, the doctors you're working with? I know you're just going into residency. Um, about the quality of generics, should I be worried about that?
Not at all. So the generic formularies are identical to the brand name uh, ingredients, right? But the reason why they're called generics is because that brand name drug has gone off patent. It's lost its market exclusivity. So now generic drug manufacturers can come in, remake the drug, same effectiveness, same data, but offer it at a much cheaper price. So there's really no concern about generic drugs. My medications are generic. My grandparents' drugs are generic. They're significantly cheaper than brand name drugs, uh, but they can be cheaper, which is what cost plus drugs is doing.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. So, as we take a look down the road, what else do you see changing? What other changes is Cost Plus going to force into this market that's going to benefit consumers?
Yeah, so I guess I'll quickly recap what they did in this past year because it's truly extraordinary, and then I'll talk about what's on tap for 2023. So within like the first 9 months, they surpassed 25 million in revenue, added over 1,000 generic drugs to their pharmacy, and have reached over 1 million customers. It's truly extraordinary. And every single day, they're adding new drugs to their pharmacy and also making existing drugs cheaper. And if you follow them on Twitter, you'll get these constant updates, and it's mind boggling. It's truly impressive. Uh, but for 2023, expect more generic drugs to hit their pharmacy. Expect them to try out insulin, which would be truly a game changer if generic insulin can now be offered by cost plus drugs, um, and biologic medications that are typically in like short supply. So cost plus drugs has built or is about to complete their own manufacturing facility, and in this manufacturing facility, they'll make these biological drugs, these drugs that are notoriously in short supply, and offer them on their cost plus drugs pharmacy. So I think in 2023, you're going to see word of mouth truly like expedite their growth. Um, and to be honest, like at this point, I don't think many physicians or many patients even know about cost plus drugs. So there's so much potential for them to grow their customer base, which would, consequently grow the revenue, and they should end up turning a profit this year.
Do doctors really pay attention to this? Do they care that much about what patients are paying and the pain the pain at the pharmacy counter?
No, so I mean that's the big issue, right? Like the physician as they are, they're so busy, and every patient's insurance plan is different. So one patient's plan may have a very high deductible. The drug that physicians prescribes may not be accepted by the health plan, right? So it is way too much work for the physician to sit down when they're prescribing a drug to figure out if it checks all the patient's health plan's boxes.
Hmm.
So what ends up happening is the patient goes to CVS, says, "Hey, I'm here to pick up my medication," and they say, "Oh no, you need a prior authorization. We can't fill this." And then there are literal departments. I mean, at least at academic institutions, there are departments created to deal with the complexity of the drug supply chain to make sure patients' drugs are accepted by their health plan. But cost plus drugs is there as an easy way out, basically, if the drug is a generic.
Sounds too good to be true. What are we missing here?
I, I've been studying cost plus drugs for this past year, and it does sound very much too good to be true, but I can't find anything that's truly wrong with it, because on paper it makes sense. You're just putting the whole drug supply chain, which is the principal reason that drug prices are so high, and you're just putting it under one roof. You're simplifying it. You're making it transparent, and because you're simplifying it, making it transparent, you're offering cheaper medications. And if there was something amiss or foul about this, I'm sure we'll hear about it. We'll hear about it soon.
So, if you could sit down with Mark Cuban, what do you want to ask? What do you want to know from him?
I would want to know what his next step is in the healthcare space, because, I mean, as you know, this healthcare system has so many problems with it, uh, that maybe it does take a billionaire who has the resources and the skills needed to tackle a problem and build disruptive solutions to fix it. So that would be my next question. Like, where to next? We got
Uh,
drug prices. Where are we going? Insurance? Primary care? What is it?
yeah, well, interesting. So, what's come of the other notable billionaire, the guy who owns Amazon, Jeff Bezos? He was sticking his toe into healthcare. Where are we at with
Oh yeah,
that?
yeah. It's, the Amazon. So there's this like whole saga of big tech companies like Amazon, like Google. You have J.P. Morgan Chase, Berkshire Hathaway. They all came in like big shots, saying like, "Oh, we're going to fix this health. We're going to fix the insurance system." Uh, it was a couple years. It must have been 2018, 2019. But they wanted to fix the insurance system, and Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, and J.P. Morgan coalesced to form a company called Haven. Uh, they took a stab at insurance, and I don't want to say they failed, but they realized it was tougher than expected.
Hmm.
So they basically uh, got rid of Haven, and now Amazon is trying to get into the primary care space. So they recently acquired One Medical, this primary care startup that's valued billions of dollars. So that's where Amazon's turning next. They already have their own uh, pharmacy. They have PillPack, which is doing great. They also offer cheap drugs, but um, nothing on par with cost plus drugs.
Interesting, fascinating. Hey, so if I want to follow you and follow your newsletter, what do I do and what am I going to find there?
Yeah. So if you want to subscribe to my weekly Healthcare Huddle newsletter, just type in online healthcarehuddle.com, sign up. You'll get uh, weekly breakdowns on key trends happening in healthcare. So last week, I discussed the fast track pathway, which basically gets needed drugs, life saving drugs, to people with life threatening conditions. It basically speeds up the approval pathway. I talked about the benefits of it and the many problems. This week, I'm talking about a new digital health funding report, breaking that down and sharing my views on it. And every week, you can expect me to break down a current healthcare trend and simplify it for medical students, physicians, and honestly, even if you're not in healthcare, you should be able to read it.
Well, I just recently subscribed and have really enjoyed what I've been seeing. So you might hear from me again. We may have you back here to push a few
Let's do
buttons.
it.
And
I'm happy to be here.
sounds great. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jared.
You got it.